Hey, good noon, people. So I am really amazed to see, really happy and pleased to see that you are taking your preparation of CAT 23 seriously and that you are starting to prepare so soon. It's always amazing. पता है मैं ना बीच बीच में देखता हूँ पोर्ट्रेट्स कई बार है ना वो पेंटिंग्स जो बनी होती हैं पुराने टाइम की. मैंने एक खास बात देखी 16th century 17th century portraits में that the faces on those portraits show focus, and I wondered why, and then I discussed it with some more people and we got to realize that it was because people in that era had that clarity of what they planned to do in their lives. Right? So if your father is a general, you would go join the army. If your father is a chef, you will also go ahead and become a chef, and your training started from a very early age accordingly. And that somehow reflects on your face as well. And then I think now whether that was good or bad is a different story, but the sooner you realize the purpose of your life, the sooner you realize what it is that you want to be, that focus somehow permeates in your entire body. And that is why I'm really happy to see that you are somebody who has decided that you're going to do an MBA, and yes, you've started your preparation for CAT 23 well in advance. So वैसे तो यार देखो, it is never too early to start your preparation, nor is it too late to start your preparation, but start it is. It's always better to start it sooner than later. So, my name is Vikrant. You are on BYJU'S channel that helps MBA aspirants realize their dreams, reach their goals. I've been teaching MBA students for almost 20, why almost now? I've been teaching them for 21 years now, during which I have prepared thousands of people and ensured that they go on to join their target B schools. I plan to bring all that expertise to your preparation today. So if you're already a part of our family, if you're subscribed to this channel, welcome back. In case you have not subscribed to our channel, why don't you? तुम्हें अच्छा नहीं लगता ये सारे सवाल हमारे साथ इन पे काम करना? तो करो ना यार शुरू. So go ahead and work with us now. So we plan to focus on something very fundamental, very foundational. So you know it, I know it, that reading comprehension is an extremely important area for our CAT preparation. I mean, more than 20% of your marks depend on this single area, right? And within this, there is a particular question type called main idea question, which gets asked very frequently. And not only that, main idea question पूछा जाए चाहे ना पूछा जाए, your ability that you build to answer these questions, that ability allows you to answer all the other question types more successfully as well. So for the indirect questions, the ability will ensure that you are able to go back to the right area of the passage. For the direct questions, once again, you would be able to hit the right paragraph, maybe even the right line with great precision, thereby making you more efficient. And thus, I believe it is extremely important for us to go ahead and figure out the main idea. So, before I take you through the question type, let me introduce you to a framework, and it is the USA framework. So whenever you come across a new question type in RC, I want you to be clear of these three things: U, S, and A. So what is U? First up, you need to understand the question, because if you do not understand the question, you are unlikely to be right consistently. Okay, and once you've managed to understand the question, the next thing that you need to figure out is the ability that is required to answer that question. And now that you know the ability as well, you and I can sit down and create a strategy that helps us acquire that ability, right? So I've introduced this framework to you. Apply it to all the other questions as well and see whether you have the requisite clarity or not. Okay, so by the end of this session, you would at least know these three things about the main idea questions. Okay, so let us start. whenever you see one of these questions in the exam, then you know that you are being asked for the main idea. So these are the three of the most popular ways of framing this question. Of course, there are other ways in which it can be framed, but these happen to be the most popular ones. So the moment you read these, you know that you're dealing with a main idea question, and then you need to bring in the requisite approach that we plan to talk about today. So, but before that, tell me, what do you mean by the main idea? How do you define it if I ask you to? So, anyone, how do we define the main idea? So, I am very eagerly looking at the chat to see what sort of answers I get. So what do we even mean by the main idea? So, whenever an author talks to us, there is this one core thought that he wants to leave us with at the end of that communication. Okay. So, yes, I know, Harshad, we can use the word crux, gist, central theme, but you realize all of these are still very abstract. So just to simplify it, whenever you read a passage, I want you to think of two things. The first one is the subject matter. What is this passage talking about? And then combine this subject matter with the opinion that the author has on that subject matter, or if it is not an opinion-based passage, maybe the purpose behind writing that passage. So the moment you think of these two things, you generally see that you are able to have a greater clarity. So what have I just done? I have essentially deconstructed the meaning of main idea. So I don't think of main idea as main idea. I think of it in terms of these two things, because these two are actionable. So in every piece of communication, you will always have a main idea that the author wants to leave you with. There can be more key ideas apart from that. But if we fail to get that main idea, then the entire purpose of the communication gets defeated. I remember this one very interesting story where a professor one fine day walked into the classroom. He had two jars with him. Okay, one jar was filled with water, the other jar was filled with alcohol, and then he had some worms with him, earthworms, and he dropped an earthworm each in both of the jars. Now the earthworm that was dropped into the jar of water was swimming there happily, whereas the earthworm that was put into the jar of alcohol, it pretty soon died and disintegrated. And then the teacher looked at the class and asked, so tell me, what do you learn from this? What is the moral of the story? So one particular student got up and said, oh sir, it tells us that we should drink alcohol because that kills all the worms in our stomach. है ना, अल्कोहल डालना चाहिए स्टमक में, इससे कीड़े मरते हैं सर. So you realize when the main idea itself gets compromised, the entire purpose of communication is actually defeated. So it's very important for us as a reader to figure out that crux or that gist or that central theme, and you can do that easily by deconstructing it. Okay, so this is the formal definition, though, is the primary point or concept that the author wants to communicate. So there is this one particular type of communication where we don't have a main idea. That's called communication meant to kill some time, but every other communication will generally have a main idea. Okay, now the main idea can be explicit or implicit. So when we say explicit, what we mean by this is that the main idea can be written in the passage. Whereas when we say it is implicit, we are saying that it is not written in the passage. It is something that is employed, that is implied. Okay, so for the kind of passages that you and I deal with in the exams, an explicit main idea is rare. We do not normally come across passages where the main idea is written as it is. This, on the other hand, is the norm. So, there are some special types of writing, articles which are written for scientific journals, research papers. They will generally have an explicit main idea, but for the rest of us, the main idea is usually implicit. And that is what makes this process a bit of a challenge. Okay, so let me give you a passage. Hi Varun, good to see you here. Okay, so you see a passage on your screen. I want you to read this passage and share the main idea of this passage with me in the comment box. So come on, let's start. What's your take? Take your time. I think you'd be able to read it in around 30 seconds, and then we can dive in. So come on, Sankirtan, what do you think? What's the main idea here? Harshad, Varun, what is the main idea of this particular passage? Read it and let me know in the comment box down below. So let's see who's going to do it first. So I have managed to read this passage. I noticed that the passage happens to have 4 key ideas. One of these is the main idea, whereas the other 3 are supporting ideas. You realize how this ability will also help you in best summary questions. Okay, so Varun has given us one answer. Varun, what does the first sentence say? Many people feel that violence on television is harmless entertainment. And then, look at this. However, we know how after however we state the opposite. So, however, we now know that TV violence does affect people in negative ways. So, you sure of what you have opted for? Okay, Rishi, that's better. Although we could have skipped the part that mentions different ages. Harshad, why only younger? Why not older? Okay, Sankirtan, I have a question. Since your answer mentions pros, can you name one pro of showing violence on TV on the basis of the passage? Any pro that you see, any advantage that has been given to us in the passage? The passage talks about only the cons, right? So we can omit that part from our answer, isn't it? So if when I look at it, what do I see? I see that this is a key idea. What TV violence does affect people in negative ways, or if I were to rephrase it, I'll say watching violence on TV affects people in negative ways, or watching violence on TV is harmful for people. Now, in what all ways is it harmful? There is one. Frequent TV watchers are more fearful and suspicious of others. Remember, I come from a very small town, and you've seen these small town people. We become very friendly with others in public transport. So you are traveling in a bus, in a train. You immediately strike a conversation with the person sitting next to you, where we can ask that person anything. Arey kuch bhi. We can ask that person about, okay, where are you from? Who all are there in your family? Are you married? Are you working? How much do you earn? We have no sense of boundary, and we also happen to share our meals, etc., with others in a train. Okay, that's the kind of person I was. But then came a phase in my life when I started watching TV shows like Savadhan India, Crime Patrol, 6 months of these shows, and now I was always skeptical. Now, when somebody offered me a meal in the train, the first thought in my mind was, is he trying to poison me and rob me? So I started cooking up excuses for not sharing the meals. Huh? Remember all those shows like, चैन से जीना है तो जाग जाइए, चैन से सोना है तो जाग जाइए. आपका पड़ोसी भी आतंकवादी हो सकता है. So that kind of a change, right? Varun, pro here means advantage, right? And then the other negative effect is heavy TV watchers are less upset about real life violence. You see that violence happening and you're like, okay, happens. I see that on TV. So in a way, it normalizes violence, which is never a good thing. You should never accept something bad happening in the society as normal. And then there is this third thing, there is this ill effect on children. It increases aggressive behavior in children. Everything else is basically an elaboration. So 4 key ideas, but you realize this one is the umbrella idea. This one is the idea that gets supported by the other 3, and therefore this will be our main idea. So can I from this tell you that main idea is a general idea that is supported by the other ideas? It is a general idea that is supported by the other ideas. So in this case, you notice the main idea is explicit. It is written here. But does that always happen? No. You'd also see situations where main idea is only implied. For example, what if I'm talking to a friend of mine who's dating a guy, and then I tell my friend that, okay, you have been dating this guy for 6 months now. During these 6 months, I have observed a few things about him. Number one, he says that when he goes to office, he is not able to take your calls, and his office shift lasts for at least 10 hours, at times even 12 hours. He says that he is not able to take calls during those 12 hours. Then he is rather conveniently living in some other country. He is also very reluctant to talk to you over videos, and he has made no effort to know about your friends or talk to your friends. And last month, when he did come to India and you wanted to meet him in person, he refused. He told you that he is busy and he has to attend this function and attend that marriage, and he couldn't really take our time. Now, should I tell you what kind of guy he is? So, you notice, I've given you a lot, but I did not explicitly give the main idea. I did not explicitly share the conclusion, the summation of all that I mentioned. In this case, the main idea turned out to be implicit. So how do you figure out the implicit main idea? Well, fortunately, in the exam, we have answer choices. So one of those answer choices will give you a general idea that gets supported by the various key ideas mentioned in the passage. So that is the one that you can go ahead and choose. So I'll take you through a passage. The passage is split across 3 slides. After that, you will have a multiple choice question. So are you ready? Ready for the question? Ready for the passage? Shall we start? कर दें शुरू? ये लो. So start reading. The moment you're done reading it, drop a yes in the comment box and I'll take you over to the next slide. Okay, terrific. Sankirtana has read this. I hope the rest of you, I'll just give 5 more seconds and I'll switch. Here is the next part. Okay. Just drop in a yes once you've read it. अबे इतना टाइम कौन ले रहा है पढ़ने में? Done. Great. Okay. So here comes the last part. And the next slide, you'll have your question, the main idea question, of course. Ready? Okay, so here is the question on your screen. So go ahead and tell me what your answer to this question is. So what's your answer? Go ahead, share it with me. So since we are meeting to discuss the approach, I'd suggest that you focus on elimination. So instead of looking for the right answer, look for the wrong ones and eliminate them. So I know that a wrong answer choice can be broad, as in it goes beyond the scope of the passage. An answer choice can be narrow, where it talks about only a paragraph or two and leaves out the rest of the passage. Then you can have answer choices which are out of scope or irrelevant, where they present something that is not even there. And then you won't believe, you can also have answer choices which are contradictory. So these are the four that we basically need to eliminate. And if you manage to eliminate these four, whatever remains is going to be your right answer choice. So let us start. So option A, it is uncertain whether the new Prime Minister of Malaysia would be inclusive and broad-minded. You realize this is contradictory. The passage very clearly tells us that he is inclusive, he is broad-minded, and therefore, now the only uncertainty is whether he'd be able to implement such policies. But by nature, it is established. So because this is contradictory, you can eliminate it. B, Malaysia's new Prime Minister is inclusive, but is uncertain about how long he will survive in office. I will say this is narrow because it does not talk about that last paragraph where India was mentioned. Okay, C, Malaysia's new Prime Minister will definitely improve. Well, that is a distortion. Remember where the passage ended. Will he now walk the talk? So the author is not definite. So to use definitely is incorrect. Let's rule it out. D, the process of appointment of the new Prime Minister of Malaysia was not legal. This is out of scope. This is irrelevant. So once again ruled out. So you realize there is no answer choice which is perfect, but B does not have any mistake per se. It does not contradict the passage, it does not distort the passage, it just omits one paragraph. So B becomes our best answer choice consequently. So it is not the absolute best, we can improve it by mentioning India. Okay, by mentioning that Indo-Malaysian relations, but as we say, it is not about choosing the best answer choice, it is about choosing the best answer choice from the given options. And that's how we ace it. Okay, that's how we deal with these better. So are you ready for the next passage? Passage number 3. It is going to be spread over 4 slides, but you know that on the 5th slide you will have a multiple choice question based on main ideas. That is what awaits. So let's start. Here you go. You managed to read it? Terrific, Sankirtan, terrific. Just one more yes and we can move over. Terrific. Okay. Are Sankirtan, you have once again, you are the only one who's stating it. Okay, but that's it. Let me take you over to the next one. Here you go. ऐसे क्यों? Ready? Okay, so here comes the next. Oh, Sankirtan, human brain is amazing. I love to read about it so much so that I ended up doing my master's in psychology so that I could figure it out more. I'm glad that you like reading about such topics, huh? That's sharp. Helps you with decision making. Ready? Okay, so here is the last part. Just a few lines and then you'd have your question. Fantastic, fantastic. And here comes the question. So, what say you? What's your answer to this? Now, look at the question stem. Okay, I changed the language a little. Which of the options best conveys the author's intent in the passage? Is still practically asking you for the main idea. Sankirtan, not really. They are taken from two different sources. It so happens that they appear to be connected, but they are not. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so Varun, a question for you. When it comes to open awareness, the author is positive or negative towards it? When it comes to author, the author is positive about it or negative about it? So people think of it as something negative, the author does not. And therefore, to say that open awareness is dispensable and pathological, this is definitely not going to be the author's view. This has that negative connotation. So we can eliminate D. So remember, this is contradictory to what the author has communicated about himself. I can take you back. So see, in the end, we may come to see the flights of open awareness not only dispensable, we may. So he starts from here and look at the word choice. Has little patience for the mind's reveries. Notice there's a positive word here. Letting one's thoughts wander seems a waste of practical brain power. Worse, our infatuation is making it harder. And let's look at it. And then there are some very celebrated people. He's saying, had they been growing up today, we would have diagnosed them with ADHD, whereas these guys have gone on to produce seminal work. So the author is not in favor of the society's attitude towards open awareness. Society thinks of it as negative. The author does not. He is in fact criticizing it. And that is why option D can very easily be ruled out. Okay, let's look at C. Now that we've started with D, let's look at C. Attention is the result of many factors, including culture and technology. Irrelevant, right? B. Now, is B the main idea or just one specific idea? B goes ahead and gives us only a specific idea. Just one sentence. A. An open awareness or mind wandering leads to creative thinking. True. But it is gradually getting an uncharitable reputation. It is getting a negative reputation. That is also true. So if I compare all the four, A is going to be the best option among the given lot. Once again, if you and I were to sit down and write the main idea, we can do perhaps an even better job. But we are simply supposed to compare the various options given to us and then choose the best one from the lot. So that's how we go about attempting these main idea questions. So there are two key things that are required. First, comprehension. If you don't understand the passage, you'd obviously struggle. After that, what you need is the ability to make an overview. That is something that I've talked about in my last to last session on YouTube. So you can perhaps consult that. And thereafter, just learn to eliminate 4 types of answer choices and you'd manage to pick up the best option of the given lot. Okay. So here is a thought that I wanted to share with you today. Sankirtan, uncharitable is negative, right? It's a negative word. So that somehow should have pointed out towards the intention. So here is the quote. The battles that count are not the ones for gold medals. The struggles within yourself, the invisible, inevitable battles inside all of us, that is where it is at. So you just fighting with yourself, you just competing with yourself, you do that and you're going to become a legend. A couple of more things. At 5 p.m. today, I will be talking about political terms. So, we at times get these passages which are based on politics and we struggle to understand it because the terms used in the passage do not make sense to us. So, at 5 p.m. today on the app, we will be talking about some of those political terms which will hopefully deepen your understanding of political theory and will make it easier for you to navigate passages that are based on politics. Additionally, we have started CAT 23 batches. In 2 of them are already running. If you are still on the fence, talk to us and we'll convince you that we are the best place. And apart from YouTube, we are there wherever you are. So make sure that you follow us, especially join us in this Telegram group where you can actually ask the questions from the team members directly. So that's it from me today. Varun, it is on the app. If you have any other question, any other concern, please share that and I would absolutely love to help you. Looking forward to meet you really soon. Until then, stay safe, stay focused.